Hello and welcome back to the Star Family Wisdom podcast. I'm Jenna, the founder of Star Family Wisdom, and I'm also a former global vice president for Whole Foods Market, a master shamanic energy medicine practitioner, a shamanic initiation guide, cosmic guide, all the things these days, all the spiritual things. And this is a podcast that is focused on your spiritual and cosmic evolution. And Star Family Wisdom is a place for you to engage in profound transformation. We are a mystery school that leads students in the process of energetic spiritual transformation, ultimately with the goal of becoming the new human. So today's episode is about that, about becoming the new human. And it's kind of not really an episode, so apologies in advance. We'll call this episode 69 and a half because it's not a proper episode, but I want to share a little bit about what's going on with me and just talk about the process of transformation, because I'm hitting pause on the podcast for a minute, for a few weeks, because I'm going through a profound transformation, and we don't always honor transformation when it's happening. We're so busy in our lives and with all the things that we have decided are important for us to do and focus on, that aren't always important to our, personal growth. And I have made a commitment to myself to focus on that growth. And when those moments are necessary, when I'm being called to a more, profound level of transformation, I need to say yes. And we just finished the Rites of the Munay-Ki masterclass today, talking about the upcoming program that's launching in May. We're doing 10 weeks of shamanic initiation, which is all about doing the energy work to upgrade and transform our field to become that new human. And when we are in the process of major energy shifts, we need to give that space. And so I want to share just a little bit about my recent journey to India. And if you tuned into the Portal to Ascension conference just about a week ago, you may have heard me talk about this a little bit. I'm going to be talking about it in depth in June at a Portal to Ascension webinar that I'm giving that is titled Activating Next Level Manifestation with Yeshua's Ancient Holy Practices. So this talk is going to be about what I went to India for. So if you're on the newsletter, on the email list, you heard about me going to India and that I was exploring this new path of study that is about integrating the spiritual practices that were used by Jesus and his disciples. So just a little backstory here. For those who don't know me, for those who are just finding this podcast, welcome. I have been guided to do this work after remembering where I come from and remembering that my soul is a soul who's had many lives off earth, who has done this third dimensional experience before, and who decided to come to earth now to support this time of transformation and change on the planet. And I was atheist for the first 30 years of my life until I went through a massive awakening, until I started experiencing supernatural events and occurrences that rocked my world and forced me to change my worldview, forced me to question everything I'd been taught, everything that I had been programmed with up until that point. And I also had progressed really fast in my, leadership roles at Whole Foods Market, and had been employing, some heightened, levels of intuition and perceptual abilities that I just wasn't that aware of at the time. And when this awakening occurred, I was reintroduced to ET beings with whom I've had other life experiences, with whom I'm bonded. So we all have soul bonds, and we all are able to, stay in close energetic communication with souls that we have bonds with. So long story short, I, got guided to do this work with Star Family Wisdom after this profound awakening, after meeting my star family, after essentially being told, to leave Whole Foods to embark on this next phase of my life and this next phase of my mission. And I was supposed to do the first part of my mission asleep, unconscious, not conscious of the, mechanics of existence, not conscious of my soul's power and memory, and to allow that to awaken within me at a certain point once I had already mastered, a certain level of leadership in the early part of my life. So I, have been guided this whole time to be doing what I'm doing. And I've been following that guidance, even when it was scary, even when I wasn't quite sure, what the outcome would be. I've been practicing what we teach here at Star Family Wisdom. I've been practicing this ability to say yes to spirit, to navigate my way through the unknown while being of service, following my passions, and learning more about who I really am, and doing the deep work to find, the distortion and programming and traumas and heavy energy that, I was carrying, and clear that so that I could reprogram myself for the truth of our reality and reclaim my soul's power, reclaim my soul's memories. So that's what I'm passionate about helping people with now at Star Family Wisdom, is reclaiming our power and remembering how to be powerful co-creators with the universe. So, I've already been engaging in that, level of work up until this India trip happened, and up until this new, spiritual practice entered my life. So I consider myself, a student of universal spirituality. I don't think one lineage, one culture, one religion on the planet has it all. I think we have, as humans, done our best to preserve ancient knowledge through our dark ages. Some cultures have done a better job of that than others. And we have to look, across all cultures to really bring together a set of holistic practices and holistic teachings that help us understand the truth of how our reality works, and helps us as humans navigate that reality better, right? Our goal here is to be in a harmonious state with life, to be in a harmonious state with each other, to feel more love and joy and peace in our bodies and our minds and our hearts than the lower emotions. Our goal is to rise to that level. And things have gotten a little off track here on Earth. So, we're here, you are here to do that work, to come back to that state of being that is possible. And so I've been studying, across, the many cultures, many traditions that exist, and recently had an experience where I was connected back to an event that happened in my childhood. And I recently shared a regression I did last year where I accessed memories of ET contact as a child, and the recurring dream I was having as a child of a red rose in space was a screen memory for that contact. Well, that red rose symbology has continued to show up in various ways in my life, and has led me ultimately to finding one Indian saint who dedicated his life to bringing forward the teachings and practices of Jesus Christ. So, many people are familiar with Jesus's teachings. Those are, for the most part, fairly well documented in different gospels and, books that have existed and been preserved. But what has been missing from that body of information are the exact practices that were utilized. So each shamanic culture on the planet has a very specific set of practices that help us engage the world of energy and help us shift and change energy in our field to align us with the cosmic flow of energy, to align us with our highest divine blueprint that is possible for our lives, for our bodies. And like I said, not one culture has preserved it all perfectly, but but we hear more about the wisdom and the theory, right, of spirituality than we do sometimes the actual practices. And it's always easier to watch a video than actually just engage in the practices yourself, right? So we don't spend enough time talking about the practices. And this Indian saint, his name is Sri Kaleshwar, and I found him again through this red rose symbology that ultimately led me to a Mary Magdalene course by Marguerite Rigoglioso. We had her on the podcast last year. Check her out. She's amazing. She's done incredible research on the divine feminine and the role of the divine feminine in history and the distortion of the divine feminine, and how we are, gaining a better perspective on the power of the feminine. And so I found a course by her after a series of really profound synchronicities that, made me really clear I was supposed to take this course. I immediately hear about this Indian saint, immediately go research him because I'm feeling this connection. I know I'm supposed to connect with this information. And so I find some of these practices, and Sri Kaleshwar in his life studied the Indian palm leaf manuscripts. These are old manuscripts, documenting information that is like thousands of years old. Some of the actual books themselves date back 500, 1,000 years ago, but the information within them is documenting practices, history, that is even older. And he found in the palm leaf manuscripts documented evidence of Jesus's life in India. There's other evidence of that now, we know, but Sri Kaleshwar found like the town, Jesus lived in after the resurrection. He found evidence of all of the high level yogic practices that were employed by Jesus, by his disciples, by his mother, by Mary Magdalene, to one, activate supernatural abilities, but then two, to navigate the circumstances around the crucifixion and the resurrection in such a way that would allow Jesus's life to be restored, allow his body to be regenerated, and allow his soul to come back into the body. So Sri Kaleshwar all of a sudden, had his hands on these very like powerful, high level yogic practices. And as a person himself, he had started, displaying fairly high level supernatural abilities at a young age. And as time progressed, he got guided by another Indian saint who had been dead for a while. The saint appeared to him in visions. Sri Kaleshwar was like, what's going on? Like, why are you here? Get away from me. But then he started following the guidance. He, started understanding, I think I'm supposed to, listen to this guy. I think I'm supposed to learn, what he has to share with me. So he started following the guidance. It reminds me of the time I started receiving guidance and was like, excuse me, you're not here in the physical. What is going on? I'm supposed to follow this, excuse me. And so sometimes we have to say yes to that. We have to know where it's coming from first. We have to be discerning. But when we say yes, we have the ability to be guided by an incredible support team in spirit. So Sri Kaleshwar got guided by this Indian saint who had been dead. And that saint became his master and guided him into the future that ultimately was his life of bringing forth these teachings, these practices, doing his best to document it in English before he died. He's no longer on the planet with us. And so all of a sudden, I'm connecting with this Indian saint. I'm connecting with this information. All of a sudden, I'm feeling this guidance to start engaging these certain practices. And I should add a little caveat here that these practices that were employed by Jesus and many other masters in the past who have gained supernatural abilities, these are high level energetic practices that one must be initiated to a certain point to even be able to engage in effectively. So you're only going to be able to open, certain high divine channels if you've done some of the clearing work that's necessary to even allow that to happen. So for instance, the rites of the Munay-Ki Shamanic Initiation is an incredible foundation, a beautiful energetic foundation and spiritual practice foundation for someone who's wanting to go on to these more advanced levels of practice. And so ultimately, these levels of practice guide us into balancing our masculine and feminine energies, awakening our Kundalini energy, turning on these high divine channels of energy, help us understand how to work with the divine feminine aspect of our creation in a new way. And Sri Kaleshwar, documented all of this and delivered, this series of mantra yantra practices that one can utilize for a lot of different reasons other than just gaining supernatural abilities. It's about healing, it's about coming into our wholeness, it's about holding more unconditional love in our field and allowing our field to come back into harmony with the divine, and allowing us to be powerful bridges, powerful channels for divine energy. So it's important to have a strong foundation of spiritual practice and to have had a strong foundation of healing work already occurring before you engage in these practices. So come to the June webinar if you're interested in this. At this point, if you're interested, join that so you can learn more. You'll hear more about my personal experience engaging these practices. But one reason you're not seeing normal podcast episodes right now is because I am deeply engaging these practices right now, and it is pushing me into a new level of transformation, new territory. So I'm giving that space. I have to give that space. And and I went to India because I got guided, because as I started these practices, I started having some experiences happen that were telling me I'm meant to go further on this path, and I'm meant to, just as I have been, with my other work so far and sharing about my journey, be transparent about what's possible and about the process of transforming into the new human. So I'm in the process of kind of activating these next level energies in my field. And when we do that, that also stirs up, any karma, any old programming that hasn't been dealt with, which is another reason why we want a really strong foundation of healing work having already occurred before we start to activate these systems. Because if we haven't done that, then we're going to open Pandora's box on all the healing that needs to occur, and that can be super intense. So we don't want to do that. So I'm giving space for these energetic shifts to occur, for any clearing to occur that needs to happen as I'm going through these systems. And I will say, thank goodness, I had the shamanic background before doing this. Again, I highly recommend that before, embarking on this level of practice. But these practices, ultimately are some of the most powerful mantras in the world that you could be using. And there's thousands of mantras out there, and they're all beautiful, but these are powerful for a specific reason, which we'll talk about more in June. And again, meant to bring us into that state of oneness, to help us ultimately identify and gain the awareness of ourselves as God at a deep cellular level, and to activate our connection with the elements in a new way, in a more profound way. And depending on where you're at in your practice and journey, maybe ultimately gaining command on the elements. And Sri Kaleshwar and his master Shirdi Sai Baba demonstrated high level supernatural abilities, like manifesting physical objects in their hands, turning water to wine, that sort of stuff. Miraculous physical healings as part of that. So we have an example of what's possible in recent modern times that is exactly like what Jesus demonstrated. And we know now Jesus is not the only one on the planet, right, that could do those things that carried such high divine energies. But Jesus was an ultimate kind of example of that. So we have recent examples of human beings activating dormant abilities, activating dormant DNA, becoming one with the creation energies in a way that allows a human to manifest in much more powerful, profound ways. So I'm on this journey right now of engaging these mantras and already having some really beautiful experiences with it. And it's important that I don't spill all the beans on exactly what's happening with me while I'm in it. But I did want to share that I'm in this process, it's happening, I'm giving it space, and I fully intend to share more as time goes on. And this is one reason I went to India, because I got guided. And I'll share one just fun example of the divine support that is available to us that I experienced prior to this trip. And then I'll share more in June and later, once I'm through kind of the meat of the process that I'm in. But I booked this trip really fast. Like I got the guidance, it was clear I'm supposed to go. I'm thinking, how am I going to do this? I'm going to India by myself. Really? I'm going to this remote town in the mountains by myself. How am I going to do this? And anyway, I reach out to the ashram that Sri Kaleshwar built when he was alive. And I'm, checking on the possibility of certain dates, like what are the possibilities? And long story short, it happens, it falls into place super easily. I'm clearly being guided for this to happen. I'm going to be the only one there at the time. And so I say yes to spirit again, and I go. But the day before I'm supposed to go, I'm in my morning meditation. I'm doing my mantra practice. I'm meditating. All of a sudden I hear, don't forget the visa. And I think, oh shit. Oh no, you're supposed to have a visa to go to India. Totally forgot. Like, just, it had been a whirlwind. A lot was going on. I'm already experiencing transformation because of, these practices. And now I'm thinking, oh no, am I going to postpone the trip? What's happening? Should I try to go? Sure. Like, surely I should just try to go. So I apply for a visa online really quickly. And they don't even have my date available for when I'm landing, so I'm too late. And I'm thinking, oh great, here we go. So then I catch myself and I think, you know what? I know miracles are possible. I've got an awesome non-physical support team. I'm now working with this Indian saint in spirit, I think, and I'm just going to ask for help, because I know this is possible. If I'm meant to go, I'll go. If I'm meant to go, the visa will come through, it'll be fine. If I'm not, maybe I'm not meant to go. So I just hold the intention of this is happening. If this is meant to happen, it's going to happen. I call on the team. I call on Sri Kaleshwar. I ask for help. I say, I forgot. I need help. Help me get there. If this is supposed to happen, help me get there easily, safely, all the things. The next morning, I'm boarding the shuttle to go to the airport, and I get an email that says my visa has come through in less than 24 hours. And so that was miracle number one. And it has been a beautiful experience of starting to understand more of what is possible. I already did, and I obviously teach about manifestation already, and these energetic transformation processes that help us clear distortion and call back our soul's power and come back into empowerment. That's what it's all about. But there's a next level that can be achieved, and so that's why I'm giving the talk in June, to introduce people further to what I'm engaging in now, to introduce you further to Sri Kaleshwar, and to begin your initiation into this lineage and to help you start to engage these practices in a way that will be supportive for you if it feels right on your journey. Or if you just want to learn more about my journey and how I'm navigating them, I'm an open book and we'll talk about that. So join me in June if you're interested in learning more. And we're doing the Rites of the Munay-Ki 10-week shamanic initiation program starting May 14th. We also have a sacred geometry drawing course that is 8 weeks coming up starting May 29th with Nadi Hana. So you can find those links below if you want to start your process of transformation or start to take it to the next level through these programs, these tools that we already have access to at Star Family Wisdom. Please join us. We think these are, some of the most foundational initiation processes you can go through to start to come back into that state of harmony with the universe and start to learn, more about who you really are, and to start to activate that next level healing process for yourself. So ultimately, we're here to become the new human. And at Star Family Wisdom, we want to help you with that. So check out our upcoming programs below. And I'll be back at some point with podcast episodes once I'm through this transformation. And then we'll go from there and see what wants to come next.